with Todd, and this is episode 34. Now that I've got the right count, I think the last few episodes that we did together, I was one behind. I kept counting the wrong one. Yes, episode 34. And it's that time of year, 2024, where it's Christmas and New Year's. So we're going to do a bit of a Christmas and New Year's episode. Yeah, how are you going, Todd? What's going on in your
Good.
world?
My world, man. Yeah, just finishing out the year strong. With the clinic and everything, and then I've got something in the works that I think is going to be really, I know is going to be really powerful. It's just a matter of putting it all together and drawing people in. So my, I spent some time with, in the nutrition coaching space, and it taught me a lot. But where my passion lies is in chronic pain, and so with my office, and for those listening, anybody in Australia, there is an adhesion relief provider in Australia. You know where he is. I know he's far away from you, but it's out there. Like, there are practitioners that are really interested in helping people out of chronic pain, and so with the hands-on work that we do, that's been really, really fruitful, as well as helping these people who didn't think that they had a chance to get out of chronic pain has been just really rewarding in that aspect. But what I realized was, outside of that, uh, people, what's the next step once I get rid of all this adhesion? And so right now I'm working on building a community that is going to expose people to the principles of things like dynamic neuromuscular stabilization, GOTA, and then ultimately some of the landmine university things. And I don't know, I feel like I want to say this and just drop a little like nugget, but the reason for that is because I not only think that GOTA has figured out that we do have this innate movement pattern when we're born, and it applies to moving forward through space, which is what humans do 90% of the time. But the next step to that is when people are training, athletes rarely need to be on their heels. And when we are trying to move weight, we should be moving in a way that it is that makes sense. And so the landmine stuff is going to be like that next step. So all in all, I want to build a community that is, I guess, more of like like a lifestyle related, because that's what really GOTA is teaching people about resting positions and how to be mindful of like your posture when you are in certain postures. So I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but anyways, that's what's going on in my world, is just figuring out how to put all that together, and then building like a social media marketing strategy to just draw people in if this is something that they feel called to. I know that from a rehab standpoint, I provide the exercises that you can find within like DNS and GOTA, and people respond, really well to it. And so it's outside of that traditional model. But at the same time, it's been extremely beneficial for those people.
Yeah, that's cool. It'd be pretty cool. Secret projects and all that. I love that too. That's cool. All right. So, how would you approach coaching someone through Chrissy? What do you think? Like, we know it's coming up, and it's like, I don't know what it's been like for you, but it's probably been true to form, has been a pretty stressful December for me, which is like it always seems to be around Christmas time. How would you approach Christmas yourself, and how would you take, say, like a client through it, or what tools or tactics or whatever would you put in place for it?
Yeah, I mean, at this point for myself, I was one of those people where I took the 2 weeks off of my brain, and so just so people understand where I'm coming from, I took a while to get to this point that I'll share with you where I'm at. So for me, I look at it as like 1 to 2 days, and that's really all it is. And I know there's stresses leading up to it, and I'll talk about strategies to help like mitigate and navigate that stress for people. But for me, it literally comes down. Actually, New Year's isn't even that big a deal unless like her and I are able to, you know, um, give the kids to the grandparents and go out for like a
Yeah.
dinner, go out for a dinner. But ultimately, let's just call it one day. That's really what I look at it. Like Christmas for me is about being present. And so when I show up, like I'm gonna enjoy the food and that's it. But I tend to get a nice workout in that day so I can in my brain like just feel better about having moved that day. And it usually helps with not feeling as stuffed and things like that. But ultimately I've been able to just like segment it. It's here's Christmas and then my life, we get back to relative normal pretty quickly. So, but hasn't always been that way. And I'm, as we all know, this is all going to be dependent on the person. So, but if I'm going to give general guidelines, which is kind of tough, um, yeah, I mean, the first thing I'll say is I want to know where their head's at. I want to know like what perceived stress they're at. Because if they do feel like the whole 2 weeks is just like going into it, they're just already checked out, or they just feel like everything that they have to do is super stressful. Um, if I'm at that extreme with the client, then what I'm going to ask them to do is just, pick one or two things that they can be present with on a daily basis leading up to it and try to chalk those as wins. And for those that have listened, I like to use the traffic light analogy. So, I say, listen, if you feel like you're in the red, I'm not going to try to convince you that you're still in the yellow. uh, but if you feel like you're in the red, let's figure out one or two things that you can do to show up for yourself on a daily basis. Um, and if I'm speaking to that client in particular, then I'm going to make sure that we set up expectations properly. So listen, you may or may not lose weight during this because you're not going to be paying attention as much and you're not going to be checking all the boxes, and that's okay. And making sure that we set up that expectation of being okay with even putting on like a pound or two if they decide to really let themselves go. Um, if I'm working with somebody who's a little bit more in the middle where they're like, hey, I'm going to be working out, I'm going to be paying attention to this, but I still feel super high stress, then we're going to be focused on recovery. Let's sleep, let's stay present with the family, and then make sure that we're making lists so that we're checking the boxes. If you've got to go out and get presents and all that stuff, and making sure you've got a lot on your plate, then let's organize that and let's try to reduce the stress as much as possible. So you realize that yes, you can get it done and still focus on yourself. And then if I have the client who's still all in, they're like, hey, this is not much of a stressor. They're kind of at the mindset that I'm at. Then we got the green light to go. And so those are kind of like how I compartmentalize maybe like the three types of people, even though everybody's going to be on a continuum somewhere in there. Uh, and Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. I mean, I think it'll be a little bit more specific based on the person and the questions they have and where they're at exactly. But that generally, that's how I'm going to approach it. Depending, if I put those clients in those three buckets, then that's how I'm going to approach it in that aspect.
Yeah. I like that. The, the way I kind of look at it is because in Australia, it's our longest holidays. If you're a parent, typically it's the longest holidays for everybody. That we have, like, it's like kids are off for like 6, 7 weeks, depending on whichever school they go to. And it usually starts from like around about now. Sometimes some kids are lost, taken stopped last week and it runs through the Feb. But even still, because of the way our public holidays are set up, it's got like Christmas Day, New Year's, and then Australia Day is on the 26th of Jan. Typically, most people are in that, like, lack of a better word, just switch off mode till the 26th. Because there's lots of sport on, there's lots of partying. I remember I used to get pretty much just get drunk. Well, I was an alcoholic, so I was drunk a lot anyway. But from Christmas Eve all the way through to Australia Day, it was just like, so it's like a big period of Australians just like letting their hair down and going nuts. And then that's after Australia Day is when they started switching on to back into routine. So what I started doing to try and, once I gave alcohol, especially, but probably in the last 3, 4 years, I do it every holidays, but especially at Chrissy, is like this whole idea of like perfect average day, which I now call perfect awesome life, is like, what do you want your day to look like? And what your weeks, etc. And do that on the holidays. Because it's the perfect time to practice it and see what it feels like. And if you do enjoy it, then it's cool. You know, that's something you want to shoot for. If you don't, no harm, no foul, holidays, you just stop and do something else. So my thing is what I did with the dads is like, we call it the Xmas protocol in the Build for Adventure program, but it's like my perfect day. It's like from wake up, lunch, it's like tons of movement. It could be just walking, hiking, running, training, whatever, but just tons of movement, heaps of stuff with the kids, going to the beach, all that kind of stuff. Just constantly moving nonstop and just literally protein powder and water. That's all we do. And then from lunchtime till bed, it's like rest, digest, eat, festive, drink if you drink, all that kind of stuff, and just relax. So tons of movement in the first half of the day. So lots of putting out work. And then the afternoons are all rest and digest. So you can go again and do it tomorrow. And everyone I've given it to who's done it said how much fun they had doing it. Where it's like, I got so much shit done in the morning. And then I was just able to chill out and watch cricket or whatever and just get drunk if they wanted to get drunk, or just eat food if they want to eat food, which is what I do. I just pump heaps of moving in. So I can just spend the rest of the day eating and reading books. And it's just a fun, nice way to go about the holiday. And I try and carry that over into life when I come back. But I think the biggest message I would like to send to most people is like, don't try and get results in the holidays. Just let go. But with the filter of like, try and have your days look like the days you would want it to look like. If you had all the money in the world, you could do whatever you wanted. What would be the thing you would do? And it wouldn't really be just sitting around on the beach drinking cocktails all day. Because after about a week, maybe two, you'd be pretty sick of it. And you start just like your mood will just drop. At first, it probably feel good because you need that recharge, but then you'll just start feeling like shit. So that's the biggest thing is like let go of the idea of results and make it playful. Relax a little bit so you can recharge into whatever you want to go into in the next year, which we could talk about in the New Year's stuff in a minute. But yeah, I like the idea of like it's holidays. It's almost the best time to test out how you want your day to look like because you haven't got any other responsibilities. Really, you still got kids, but they're going to be part of your perfect, awesome life and perfect average day anyway. So you might as well make it part of it as well. Then you know what you're trying to play around with, testing it out. I think
I
that's
love it.
why I just like testing shit.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, my initial thing is, with some of the clients I've worked with, I tend to see some resistance with that because they've already like checked out and they're just like, I don't know how I can get, dialed back in, and I've experienced some of that. But I'm right with you. I mean, like I said, it's taken me 8 years to get to a point where I'm not, intoxicated for the,
Yeah.
we only get the 2 weeks off. So the kids get the 2 weeks off. They're, come this Saturday, they'll have the week of Christmas off and the week of New Year's off.
Yeah.
So in regards to that, it'll, the stress in a sense will increase. We'll have them here at the office. Like we're not going to stop working, things like that. But I agree with you. I mean, I think maybe I'll just in another way. I like to, well, it's exactly what you're saying, just in a different way. But I ask people like if they're ready and willing, like challenge yourself. Like,
Mm.
coming into the season, if they're in that first bucket where this has been super stressful and it's hard to navigate for them and they want to throw everything out the window, then that's let's turn this into a challenge. Let's turn this into the ability to start to implement some things that you weren't able to, didn't implement before. And what we don't want is come New Year's, you feel, you have this like mindset or this feeling that like you've just screwed everything up.
Mm.
Because the reality is even though we take it as like a 2 week vacation in our minds, it's not, and it doesn't have. But I also like to, just give the caveat that that took years for me to
Yeah.
shift that
Same.
shift that, shift that mode. So Um, yeah, I guess I don't know if I have anything else to say. I mean, I'm a big part of it too. Like if I can go in and get a huge workout in, but we tend to like open presents early and have like a big breakfast. So there might be some movement like in between that and then dinner. Maybe sometimes there's like a 5K run in a local town or something that we might go to,
Yeah.
things like that. So, but at the same time, like I've put in so much work up to that point where sometimes that day I also just take it off.
Yeah.
It just depends on, how hard I've been pushing for that year and leading up to it. Because the other thing I don't do is I won't, I won't take it off if I've if some things have gotten in the way. I will make sure, like throughout, like leading up to it, like if we've gotten so busy where it's been tough to like get up and go to the gym in the morning and we're doing all these other things, then I'm just more mindful of that day. Hey, let's go. You have the day off. Let's go get some movement in and then be able to enjoy yourself. So
Yeah. I like it.
yeah.
Let's pick New Year's resolutions and shit. Like
Yes.
I don't like throwing stones at resolutions and stuff. The thing that I guess get concerned about most of the time, there's like a few things that I can go with this. One of them probably be a bit ranty, but it's like the repetitive nature of it where nothing actually changes. That makes sense. But so we know resolutions are coming. Well, the one thing, this is what I do all the time is like, what are your resolutions and what do you want to do next year? Or what do you want to change? Everyone's going to do it. You might not do it. That's cool. But if you go do it, write down exactly what it is that you want. And then just write down all the things that you know are going to stop you from getting there. Why are you going to fail at it? And then you just create a list of all the tools you need to help make sure it's a success this time around. Like it's the simplest, quickest way to take your resolutions and turn it into something that's not going to disappear when Feb comes around, but actually make you excited because you know the things are going to derail because it's not a derail. But it's a tough exercise because you got to write down all the reasons why you fail at shit. But it gives you a list of things that you can go start finding tools for to fix it or help or mentors or whatever, just to make sure you stay on track.
Yeah. I I think that fits right in with something I recently heard because I've shifted back and forth on the whole resolutions and you just kind of get annoyed with people who and
Same.
I was a part of that, but
Mm,
I recently heard something is actually my former boss at with Active Life. He said, "Listen, like if people need to take that time over the holidays to mentally prepare for this change. I think that's what you're alluding to is that mental shift and the practical, what practically can I be focused on come the new year so I am successful. And I think it's just going to be a natural part of as humans, like we like beginnings, and you and I know from our human design, we like building and doing these things, and then it can fall off pretty quickly when we felt like we built it. Um, but uh, but yeah, I mean, I think like what I've also learned working with people is making sure that they are in that right mindset, and if they can utilize those tools to make sure that they're prepared for that new year, then as long as they're doing that work, that's what's really important. I don't want people to just to start to be like, oh, everything went to crap. I wasn't even like checked in over and then now knowing what I know now, 3 years of working with clients, I would probably put them through, well, hey, go do this exercise and then come back to me. And if you're really ready to go and you've done this work, then let's put those New Year's resolutions, to use. So
yeah.
yeah, I think it's I've pivoted on it. I'm fine with it because I truly believe being in this chronic pain space, if I can help one person, and change their life because we are working with people who are, sometimes depressed and like myself had some suicidal ideation and, they're really down in the rut. And if we're, talking about people from like that nutritional weight loss standpoint who mentally are in a similar place, um, I'm also under the, like I said, I pivoted, and if there's 5 million people want to have a New Year's resolution, and 5 people end up holding that. That's 5 more people that we have healthy in this world that are gonna, be able to show up for their kid. You know, hopefully, go after the things that they want in life, um, and contribute more to society in a way. And so,
Mm.
maybe it's my big heart or whatever, but I've definitely pivoted in that aspect. And, even if we just get a couple people to, make a change, like, I think that's better than not. And, so yeah, I've completely switched on the New Year's resolutions thing where
Yeah. I
that's
used to be the
dumb.
same. I used to be like, fuck New Year's resolutions. Just do it anytime. You don't need it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of,
Because
it's
what's
cool.
January compared to June, in
Yeah.
reality? It's just that we also build this up in our heads, right? And we see it every year.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
problem is we don't see how many people start, trying to change their habits in February. We don't have the numbers on that, right? We don't have the numbers on people making, June resolutions or whatever it is. So I imagine like the numbers are the same or really similar to a degree. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe the percentages are similar, I guess, but, more people are gonna or tend to make New Year's resolutions, so we probably see a bigger percentage fail there, but we're not looking at the numbers over the course of, like, the following months when, people do decide to make a change. So I'm good with it. It's, for me, it's just, the calendar is the calendar, and time is, it is what it is. And, and if that's what is the catalyst for somebody for making a change, then let's go.
I think, I think the reason why I was so like, screw New Year's, like, do it whenever. It was like the guilt and shame spirals that would happen for people when they'd start something January 1st or January and then fall off the wagon. Like that, the story that we all hear is like everyone, 90% of people fail their New Year's resolution. And then if that happens to you, you just go into a guilt shame spiral. Like I've just fallen into that same category. So just kind of like wanted to throw 3 books out there for people that get them at New Year's and read them. Most probably have them. It's like the 12-week year. If you are going to do set New Year's resolutions, plug it through the 12-week year system. So you've got set actions that you need to do, habits, lack of a better word. It's a great book. Takes your year goal, try and knock it over in 12 weeks. But
What's it called?
the 12-week year, very good book. The which leads you to the next one because it creates a set of actions, which will be the habits you need to do to achieve each goal. And you break down each goal into its little areas. And then all the atomic habits is obviously the next one. If you haven't got that book already, go get it. It's such a good book to take whatever you're doing for the 12-week year and turn it into a system that you can show up for. And then the third book, which I think is like the love child of atomic habits, is Elastic Habits, different author, where he's taking the concept of habits and turned it into this flexible approach that you can do, which is where I talked to you about the mini pro elite, the traffic light system, everything we've talked about on here. It's like it's taking these habits and skills. So 12-week year is planning out how you're going to achieve your goals, these visions, these New Year's resolutions. Atomic habits is cool. How do we create a habit? How do we set them up so you're successful doing them? And then elastic habits is like, how do we do this when life gets shit? And how do we do it when life's awesome? And scale it up and down. And those 3 books, if you nail those 3 books in, you'll you'll be fine. You'll make it work. Especially elastic habits. It's kind of like the book is that good and the concepts are that good. It takes away any reason why you can't do a thing.
Okay. I'm
Because
putting it on my list right now. I don't have
yeah,
that.
just because of the tool, you know you're doing it right when your mini version, your red light version, is going to let you achieve the goal in time. But it's so easy to show up. You can do it on the worst day. The, the mental side of things, you will push back against it because you'll feel like it's too simple to work. But it works because just setting up those skills and habits in the right way, so you can do it when life's really, really hard, and obviously level up and go crazy when life's really good. Those 3 books are just coaching 101 all in there. Like, you put those into place, you'll have a huge 2025.
And, and I think the other, uh, I don't know, I don't have like research science behind this, but what I think like Sean was saying that I was alluding to was people do need some time to really gear themselves up for this change. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a lot that goes into making a change. You are going to be eliminating things that don't serve, and letting go of those things is like dying for some people, right? And that's hard. Like that's you're letting something go that's been a big part of your life, and making that change after 30 plus years of programming this into your brain that it's a
Mm,
part of your life, is massive, and it does take, some time. I'm gonna throw this out there. Maybe we come up with like a pre-course, or pre-programmed program.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
just to like let people know, hey, do this work before you come in. But anyways, what I'm getting at is I think a lot of times people fail too is because there isn't like a ton of time or like in between this time when we all feel like our life is so full and that we can't make these changes, and at the same time we aren't setting time aside to think about the change that we want to make. So everybody who, begins or even now is going, I'm making a change in January, but they're not doing any of the work because they're so full, their life is so full. Well, come January, you're just, based on what you had shared with us with those books, like you're just destined to fail. You didn't do any of like the
Mm,
pre-work. It's kind of like, when we work with like a mentor, what's the pre-work that we have to do? We have to understand our niche. We have to understand what these people are going through. We have to, that's the pre-work for us to be prepared to, put ourselves out into the social media world to draw people in. And if we're not speaking their language, then we're not going to be, successful. And it's the same thing. If people don't understand what it takes to live this type of life and they aren't preparing themselves, of course they're gonna fail. Oh, so, I think that's part of the other issue is the actual first is a tough time to start because you're coming off probably being intoxicated the night before. You've just been gluttonous for the past 2 weeks or a week and a half. And, it's, with all the chemical things that are going on inside your body, it's really hard to make a change. And if you haven't mentally put in that work, you're gonna go to the gym for, a couple days, it's gonna feel good, you're gonna get some of those dopamine hits, and all of a sudden, like, it's like, it's gonna wear out. And if you're mentally not ready for it, then yeah.
yeah. It's kind of like putting on paper, like when we said the reasons why you're not going to make it. Like, it's a shit exercise to do because you're so pumped out for resolutions. But then you're like, oh, why am I not going to make it? The very top thing as an exercise put there is like, my life is 100% full already. And then the conversation is like, what are the trade offs? Are you willing to make to fit the new stuff in? Because it is new stuff. Like, if you're already doing it, we wouldn't be making a resolution around it. So if it's got to be new stuff coming in when your life's 100% full, this is why those books are handy. Like, cool, I've got to make trade offs. And this is why I like Elastic Habits so much. It's like, yeah, you have to make the trade offs. But if you go full hog and do like the elite trade off, that green light trade off, where it's like, I'm just going to jump into an hour of training every day. It's an hour you got to find every day to allow it to fit. What I believe is what happens with New Year's resolutions is that they do the new thing and put it into their already 100% full life. You just don't have the capacity for it. So you got to sacrifice time. And then when you start realizing you're sacrificing stuff to make this thing work, your brain plays off like, and subconsciously, it doesn't want you to change. So it's going to make you think that the thing you're getting rid of is better than the thing you're trying to build. If you allow that conversation to have with yourself, like, what am I willing to trade off to make this work? And be realistic to it. Like,
Right.
whatever you think, like, I always do the rule of like 50%. Like, what are you willing to trade off to make it work? Cool. Only take half of that and then make that work. You can always do more and you can always go a little bit less. But through the lens of like what we talk about with clients, it's easy to show up and do stuff and crush it. Like that's fine. And like when clients don't reach out when they struggle, that whole thing, like they'll reach out and like they want to crisp high fives and all that cool stuff when they're doing really well. Like there's not much to do coaching wise there. It's like, you're doing it. Yeah, it's great. So good. I love helping coach people who really, really struggle because that's when coaching makes sense. And
Right.
that's when the reach out should happen. As coaches, we love that you do awesome when life's awesome. That we absolutely like find passion in everything. I think that's why coaches become coaches when they see people get really good results when life is really, really hard. And I think if you create your resolutions around that idea of like, you got a backup plan, basically like creating 3 blueprints or like Dan John calls them pirate maps. What's the worst day you can possibly think of? What are you going to do to achieve your goal? And what's the next level up from that? And what's the next level up from that? And then you just plug those 3 in based on whatever the day is. Yeah.
Yeah, everything you said, it's all, it makes sense and it's practical. It's just doing the work. It's sitting down. And that's what I find is the hardest thing for people is to sit with those exercises, with those thoughts and ask yourself those hard questions. And that was one of the things that I started shifting when I was onboarding people was listen, like all the people that I've shared these results about and you've seen on social media, I tell them up front, they did the hard work. The hard work is the conversations you're having with yourself. You know,
Mm.
if I put out something where I'm like, hey, this week your goal is to confront this thing that seems to be a challenge for you. And if I provide some tools and insight and you come back to me and nothing's changed, yeah, I wanna figure out how to get, you to take action, but at the same time, like, if we're doing this week after week, either A, I've missed the critical point that is gonna, help you take action, or you don't wanna confront this and,
Which is cool.
which is cool, but I know it's a challenging, like,
Yeah.
staying the same is easy. It's freaking easy, like, although, when you're out of shape or your body aches or, you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, we forget that really quickly when we decide to not, do the work in whatever capacity. And I'm still, as a coach, like there's deeper parts of the psychology and the ability to, ask questions and is stuff I get excited about from my aspect because I want to show up in a way that as we always talk about, creating a space and a container for people to
Mm.
feel that they can share those things so we can work through them. Not that I'm trying to play, psychologist or anything, but as humans who have been through things, we can offer our insight and the tools we've acquired. So I love what you shared, man.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Well,
Anything, anything
well,
else
you got
on?
me to take
Uh,
action on my life.
yeah. It's kind of, yeah. Well, we're very similar. So, like the human design thing, I think I've clearly got ADHD. So I get bored with shit very easy. So the habits and middies and all that kind of stuff just makes sense to me. So I can dabble in things and keep moving things forward when my passion moves on to something else, which seems to happen a lot. Like I dive into something, build something to a certain point, and I'm like, okay, I need to move on to something else because I get a little bit cooked mentally from it. And then that can happen with people's transformations. They put a lot of effort into the thing, use so much juice. And then when that juice is needed elsewhere, they don't have as much capacity to do the thing that they were doing with so much vigor, passion, intensity. But you can still kick those things along, kind of like kicking the can along. Just doesn't have to be massive kicks every time. It's just like nudging it where it needs to be. And that's where I like setting these things up and making them sort of sit into what's already going on in your life. And then it reduces the friction. And the whole thing we've talked about a few times is like it's more flow like, flow first force. And that's the other thing too, is like the bumpers book. So that'd be the fourth book. If you jump into something for your New Year's resolutions and you find it doesn't really vibe with you, like you really don't like it, you can pivot into something else that's still going to allow you to achieve the goal. Just make a shift,
Yeah.
and you'll be all right. But yeah, New Year's resolutions are sick.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask a question. It's a slight pivot.
Mm.
Uh, for those listening, for the millions listening, say they're in this position where they've been thinking about their New Year's resolution and they're in your atmosphere. You're having conversations with them. They're thinking about jumping into a program, making a change. What what would you offer those people that are interested in a New Year's resolution? And let's just call it because that's the time of year. What are the things that you would like share with them ahead of time from whether that would help them prepare? So, say they're talking to you or they're listening to this and they're gearing up and they're like, you know what, I really want to make a change. What are some things that you can like leave with those people right now that are listening that would help them other than what you had shared? Because that like reading those 3 books are a lot over the next like week and a half, 2 weeks. But like, what are some things that you can share with them and say, hey, if you're in this position, what are some things that you can share with them to help them be even more prepared if they're not going to go read these books? Let's just say.
Yeah, I think like the traffic light episode. So first up, I would say like whatever journey you're going to go on, habit hangover is going to kick in week week 3, week 7, week 12, where for a while you can push other responsibilities aside and focus on this new thing. And then those other responsibilities will come back screaming for attention. And that's where people generally fall off the wagon. It's not because they lack discipline. It's because they've had to push aside stuff that they have to do to make this new thing work. And that stuff is now like, I need this, I need your attention. I need you to look after me again. So there's just no space for it. So habit hangover is legit. It's real. It happens to everyone. Whether it happens in week 3 or it happens in week 16, it's like how big the drop off is. So I kind of planned it and always plant the seed early. Is like week 3 is going to be really, really hard. So we need to have the traffic light system set up. You still got to show up. So whatever your New Year's resolutions are, put in the rule that I got to do this every day. There's no off days because it's easier on your brain to show up every day than it is to show up 2 times a week. It takes more willpower to show up twice a week, which sounds really weird. But it doesn't do it every day. Because if you do it every day, your brain starts getting used to this new version of you, and it takes less effort to keep doing it every day because it's just part of your day.
And real quick, another way to say this is if I'm going to implement something, implement it as if I'm going to do this every day. And if it's something I don't feel like I can do every day, then let's adjust what that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
It changes the way you look at it. It's like, cool, what do you want to do? I'll do that every day. And people will be like, whoa. I was like, well, you want to love it. Don't want to do it every day. Maybe we make a tweak. And what that means, like, if it's training, I don't mean go and train and destroy yourself every day in the gym. Like, it's just put it as a category of move every day. You can do a bike ride, you can do a training session, you can go run, just something every day. But yeah. So having those rules, start of showing up, show up every day. Traffic lights to allow you to get past the habit hangovers. So you got red light, yellow light, green light, whatever the actions are that needs to happen for you to achieve your goal. Find a 5-minute version of that each one. What's the 5-minute version that still allows you to achieve the goal eventually? Like it's guaranteed to get you there. Might not get you there tomorrow, but it's going to get you there. So that's your red light version. And then there's one in between that. So you got your main goal, which could be like, say it's an hour of training a day. The mini version is like, I'm going to do 5 minutes today. In between is like 20, 30 minutes. Could be 10 minutes, whatever it is. But that means you can fluctuate up and down between those all the time. You win the day if you get the 5 minutes. You also win the day if you get the hour. There's no weight difference. For your brain, it's just you win the day. So if you set those things up, it allows you to have that rigid, flexible approach to life. The rigid is I need to show up every day, because if you want to be a new person, that person does it every day. So build it in to your life. And the flexible part, the traffic lights, allows you to just create a system where you can do it on the worst day. That's the main thing. The more you show up on the worst days, the hard days, the more success you'll have. And there's another one that's sitting there in my head. I just lost it, where it's, will come to me eventually. Maybe the alcohol's really going. I had it. I was like, this thing, but I'm like, no.
Oh, it was literally the key to everyone's success.
Yeah.
You dropped it.
And it's now behind a paywall. You got to sign up for this thing. No, I signed up the traffic lights. Wow, what was it today? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, collect wins. Like it's, I had a guy push back against daily intentions and daily wins, and he stopped the program. Yeah, I just don't like this data collecting and stuff for me. That's cool. This is a while ago. I checked him in, like, how's everything going? He's like, I haven't done anything since we stopped. Like, it's this simple shit that makes this stuff work. And so your plan is your daily intentions. Like, what is it you're going to do? Mini, pro, elites, with that, which is the traffic lights, red, yellow, green. They're your intentions for the day. At the end of the day, count your wins. It's literally just a green tick on everything that you did, which shows your brain that it was actually pretty good. It was a good day. Even if you only tick 2 things, it's still a good day. And then the best thing about it is you set your intentions for the next day straight after you count your wins. Whatever you missed gets done first the next day. So you never miss 2. And if you do that every day, you'll achieve your goal.
I love it.
But so that whole thing of like, but you won't do it because your brain tells you it's too simple for it to work.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. Like I fought it for so long. I knew this years ago, and I fought it for ages until BG, the mindset coach, was just made me do it. Like, I want you to message me every day, and just made a huge difference. Especially feeling good doing the thing.
I have one question related to this and one question related to taking like even. I'll share the first question. Well, what do you do with people who have a really hard time with looking at the wins versus wasn't accomplished? I found when I was working with clients that like at the end of the day, I'd be like, well, what'd you get done? And they're like this, and this, but it was with like this somber tone. And they're like, but I didn't get this, and this. And all they would was harp on like the negative aspect. So how do you help someone navigate that? And then I'll ask the last question I have.
I think for me, and what I've said to a few people, was like, you're only as good as your next day anyway. So instead of dwelling on the shit they missed, I'm like, cool, put it at the top of the list for tomorrow and just win it tomorrow. If they miss it 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row, I'm like, it's clear to me that you do not want to do this thing. You don't enjoy it. Let's find something more enjoyable than you wouldn't.
That's
Because
cool.
it could be that. Like, you just don't like the thing. Then you could just pivot. But yeah, I think it's always like data over emotion. We want to look at it dispassionately, what we're doing each day, and then whatever the gap was, fix that gap tomorrow. And if you play that game every day, because at first it'd be like, you'd be yo-yoing between stuff like, cool, I trained really well today, but I didn't do well. The next day, I did awesome with my food. I did really train well today. And if you're flip flopping between that for a year, you're going to have awesome results at the end of the year. Like you're going to look amazing. Like it doesn't have to be awesome every day. And that's where the traffic lights work so well. If you do the red light versions every single day, you will get the same goal at the end of the year. Like you'll make it. And I think that's the big thing and I think people feel guilt, like when they're working with coaches, they're like, I feel bad because I didn't do this thing. And all I give a shit is like, I love the green ticks. Even if there's two, I'm like, yeah, sick, good green ticks. Like,
Yeah,
what about all the ones I missed? I'm like, I don't care. The green ticks. Put those other ones, if they're that important, put them on tomorrow.
love it. So my last question is kind of based off of not this past question, but the question before when you shared like about getting people ready. What what are what should somebody be doing from like an internal standpoint to
Mm.
prepare themselves?
Um, it,
Like what
that's
questions maybe could they be asking themselves? Like do I really, or maybe even an exercise that you could share? Like is it getting very like super clear on their goals? Is it are there just certain questions they should be asking themselves, like how bad do I really want this, and rating, what type of things do you potentially utilize to or even have used for yourself to like prepare yourself to begin a journey like.
so I reckon the best one would be recapture and reallocate or reclaim and repurpose. I think so. You set your New Year's resolutions, which is your goal. You set in the plan of attack to get there. Probably before the plan of attack to get there, you need to figure out what kind of environment you're playing in. Which this is from the clarity hierarchy I learned from Lucas Wachowski. It's like the middle tier of like a transformation pyramid. And then once you know the environment, you know what tools and tactics you can use. And by environment, I mean like what's going on in your life right now. How much resources do you have? Resources in time, attention, and money. All that kind of stuff. Like what resources can you put towards this goal to make it work? Which is the same as like any expedition. It's like, what's the environment we're playing in? What resources do I have? What tools do I need to
Yeah,
bring with
what
me
climate do I
on the
need to
expedition? Yeah.
climb up Mount Everest? Yeah,
So
I
it
love
will
that.
puts in a perspective of like what needs to happen. And what I do for the dads is I've created a spreadsheet that literally shows them like where they can reclaim time, reclaim money, and reclaim attention to put towards the new goal. And that's like the it's kind of the dirty work, which is kind of hard to do because you're so motivated, you just want to go. But if you're like you're going on an expedition to Antarctica and you leave with like your Hawaiian shirt and shorts, you're gonna be cooked. Not cooked, you'd be frozen. But it just doesn't work. And you wouldn't do that.
No,
If you're going on holidays, you always figure out what the environment, like what's the environment, what things you need, what do you need to do, where can you reclaim time, money, attention to do that. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of the biggest bang for your buck where it's like set your goals, what's the environment you're playing in. And that will tell you what tools you can use to try and achieve it. And what it does is it creates a decision filter. It pushes so many options out of the way and reduces the overwhelm and just narrows your focus in on these things because that's the environment I'm playing in right now.
I feel like that was a mic drop.
Mhm.
I don't realize how big people, and thank you for that analogy of like going somewhere, even as simple as like going on vacation or whatever. Like you're taking inventory, and I think like that's massive. We'll talk some other like off. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
even for myself, like a little light bulb went off, and that's really cool. I want people to walk away with understanding how important that is, how important, and I think it goes back to what Dr. Sean was saying about that mental preparation.
Yeah.
If they need that to jumpstart, then so be it. And I think it also might even be valuable to coaches, right? If coaches are speaking with people and they're a cold to warm lead. Well, what is something that you can offer them instead of throwing like a recipe book at them? Well, hey,
Mm.
listen, let's get on a call. Here's a really valuable exercise. Say you're about to go on this journey and this trip. What do you feel like you need? Let's make this list. Come back to me, and
Yeah.
then let me see if that list is like close to what you actually need, because I've been on this journey. I'm gonna go ask the Sherpa who's climbed Mount Everest, like, what the hell do I need? I'm not gonna go ask somebody who's been living in the tropics for the past 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
like, um, as you can see, I'm really excited. Like that's massive. And I think that could be even like a huge step for many coaches that are,
Mm.
they feel like they can help this person, but the person doesn't feel like they're ready. Well, how do we help them get ready? We get them to see what this journey is gonna require. And I think that's huge. That's massive. And again, it's simple,
Yeah.
and it's something that people probably aren't going to want to do. Also think it can be heavy though, because you've really got to take a look at your life, and you've really got to like be like, all right, this journey, and then the thing about it is it's not a vacation. This journey doesn't like, right? Because once you start this journey,
Yeah.
you got to be ready to continue to climb Mount Everest for forever. And it doesn't always, you can stop and take breaks and land at what are the what are the areas you land at? It's bypassing me, but, base camps and stuff, but,
Oh, yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I was like,
like, you can hang out at, like, base camps for a little bit, right?
yeah.
That could be, it's not a plateau, it's more of like, "Cool, like, this is it. What do you gotta do from base camp to base camp?" You gotta take a look at, like, your inventory, make sure we got the right stuff to make it to the next base
Yeah.
camp, and let's go. So I love that. I know I'm building on the analogy, but,
It's
that's
cool.
huge. That's what I was like, that's not that I expected anything, like, that answer, like, completed the loop in my brain for not only myself for when I start, this own journey of my own, but also for people who, like, even I experience, like, if they don't feel like they're ready, I can help them potentially either, "Hey, no, this list doesn't work. We're way off. Let's keep working on it."
Yeah.
Or, "No, you're pretty darn close. Like, if you understand this list, then you understand what it's gonna take." And that's really cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Nah, you're welcome. And it's gotta, I hope people, like, I've got a tool. If you want it, reach out. I'll send it through. It's a super powerful tool. The reclaim and repurpose. I call it reclaim and repurpose. I learned from Nick Peterson, recapture and reallocate. It's, yeah, resource allocation, which sounds lame, but it's probably the most important. I like literally the most important step. Like, you look at where you spend your money, where you're willing to shift from here to here, from stuff that's not serving you to your goal. That's the thing. You go through your list and you go, what doesn't help me achieve my goal on this list? That isn't like a necessity, because you only use spending money on it to feel good. But you can use that money to feel good over here. You just shift it across as much as you feel like you need. There's no right or wrong answer on that. And then
And
same with time. You go through your calendar where you're putting time on stuff that doesn't serve your goal. If the goal means this much to you, put it to where you need to. And then the other one is attention. Where's your attention going that doesn't serve you? And repurpose it that way. Like, I just did this again recently, and I took all the social media apps off my phone because I was just going in there for work reasons and just getting lost in shit. Even Reddit. I used to leave Reddit on my phone a lot because I like reading posts on Reddit, conspiracy theories, because they're fun to read. It's like watching a movie. Or at the dad threads, I used to get lots of ideas for content from the threads in there with dads sharing their struggles, and I'd go in there and help and then go share content. But yeah, I just took it all off my phone because my attention was getting sucked away when one of my goals was to be more present with the kids and do more shit with them. So, like, recapture, reallocate.
I don't know if I believe I sent it to you or at least gave you the link, but if anybody before they get the tool would like to see Chris present on it, he came
Mm.
in when I did a challenge. He came in and shared with participants in the challenge this whole concept. And so if you want to see that link, or if you want to see that video, reach out, and we can also, if you want to see that first, see how Chris breaks it down and how to go through it. And if it's something you feel like you're ready for or you want, then like Chris had shared, he has the tool for you to be able to work through that, navigate it.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. We can send that through. For sure.
Yeah.
That was a good
Rock
one.
on. Yeah. I
All
like it.
right. We'll I'm trying to figure out how we'll do it because I'll have reception to do a record an episode. So I'm probably going to roll out a few repeats of popular episodes from our millions of listeners.
Yep.
And then we'll be back. So we won't see you till just after New Year's. So you
Okay.
have Chrissy and
Yeah.
New Year's, man.
You too.
And
You
then,
too. Yep.
yeah, we'll be talking to you during the week, peoples, but it'll be replays, FYI.
Yeah. To everybody else out
Highlights.
there, have a
Yeah.
beautiful Christmas and New Year and holiday, whatever you celebrate.
Yeah, yeah. Enjoy it. Have fun. Set resolutions. Message us your resolutions. That'd be cool. Comment on our posts, wherever you can find our stuff.
I love it.
All right. See you later. That was cool, dude. Of course. You're